Hey everyone, Jonathan Blundell here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to set up a podcast with your WordPress install. Now I'm not going to go through the actual setup of whatever plugin you use. This video though is going to be using the Blueberry PowerPress plugin, so I'm going to show you kind of briefly how to use that. If you need help setting that up, we may need another video for that, or actually sit down and talk about that. But anyways, we're going to kind of walk you through setting up a podcast with the PowerPress plugin and getting that live. Now there are two ways to go about getting your audio to your website, to your server. My preferred method is actually using an FTP program. What I use is FileZilla, and it's pretty simple. I mean, it's I go to HostGator, who's my web host, pick my directory where I want the audio to go to, and I'll just drag something over here real quick. It'll ask me, this is actually a file I've uploaded previously, so I'll go ahead and tell it to overwrite it. Shouldn't make any difference there. But I can actually sit here and I can watch it upload, or I can actually just minimize it and go on about my business. Pretty simple. And then once that's uploaded, I can actually finish everything in WordPress. But one of the things I like about this is I can actually customize and specifically tell my server where I want these files to go, kind of like copying files around from directory to directory on your personal computer. This gives you that same option. I can make a lot of different folders if I want, or for me, I prefer to have all my podcast files, my MP3 files, in one folder. It makes tracking a lot easier, makes the stats a lot easier if I know it's all in one specific area. So that's what I prefer as a best practice. I know the path, I know I have a format that I use for this, and that's kind of what I recommend you do. Come up with a format for every podcast, how you label the files and so forth. But that's how I do it. But WordPress gives you another option, and I'll show you how to do that here. I have a local install set up here. Let me actually go to my dashboard so you can see this is just a fairly standard WordPress install. I am running the Blueberry PowerPress plugin, which is the podcast plugin that I recommend, that I use. And then if we want to create a new podcast, I'll actually go to Post and Add New. And let's give it a name. We'll just call it Podcast 032813. That's the date for it. I could call it Podcast Where Tim Smiles. Yeah, who knows? You can call it whatever you like. You can add some audio, and we'll just copy something over here. It's a random document. Drop that in. You can also add photos and so forth. Do some formatting like you might like with your standard podcast or your standard blog post. However you like to do that, you can do that. Now, depending on your actual theme and your template, you may actually have a format specifically for audio. If that's over there, I'd recommend doing that. That kind of helps it stand out that it is an audio podcast. Now, let's say that, like me, you use the FTP process. You want to go that route. You've already uploaded your audio to your server. Excellent. What you do is just basically scroll down here to your podcast episode fields, and you will copy your audio in, your URL, click verify. It tells me that my media was verified successfully. You may get errors sometimes depending on what format you save it in. It may say this isn't the best format for the player. Depending on what the error is, it may not be a big deal, but you want to be sure that it can find that file, that it's got the right URL. It'll put in the size of it. It'll usually put in the time. And then you can actually hit publish, and you're good to go. So I'll go here and view my post, and there it is. There's my podcast. It has a little description, and I've got a player here. You are listening to the Something Beautiful podcast. I'm Jonathan Blundell. So that'll play it out. People can play it in a new window, or they can download it directly from the website. It depends on how they want to do it. Now, if you're not going to do the FTP process, what you need to do is you'll actually go kind of like you would upload a photo or any other content in WordPress. You're going to go to Add Media, and one of the things that you will notice here is I have a maximum upload file size of 2 megabytes. That may change depending on your install. Some may give you 32 megs, some may give you 64 megs. Some may give you, 128 megs. It all depends on your server. It all depends on your setup. So you'll want to take note of this and be sure that you're not uploading anything larger than this. Otherwise, WordPress and your server doesn't know how to process it. So I'm going to actually select my file here, and I'll show you what will happen. These are pretty large files here. See it? We get an error. It exceeds maximum upload size for the site, so it won't even try to upload that. So if you get that error, you can just dismiss it out, and then you'll need to downgrade the quality of your audio. I would recommend, if you're doing straight voice, you can run your podcast in mono and run it at a low bit rate. It won't make that big of a difference for your average listener. They're not going to be complaining because your voice isn't 100% pristine CD quality on a podcast. It's great to have, but it definitely cuts on your bandwidth and on your hard drive space for your server. So I'm going to pick a file that's actually smaller than those others. We'll go here and click my podcast. So I'm going to grab this one here. This is less than a meg in size. Hit open. And so it uploads pretty quickly. Of course, I'm on a local server, so it's not having to go over the web to do that. But what you see here is I have my title. I can put a special title in here if I want to change it from the actual file name. And the main thing I want to get, make sure that this says link to media file. And then I'm going to copy this URL. Make sure you get the whole thing all the way from the H and the HTTP all the way to the 3 and MP3. Copy that and then close this window out. Come back to your post, and I've actually removed that former URL that was here. So I will take that URL that I just copied, paste it in, hit verify. My media was verified successfully. So once my media is verified, I can actually scroll up, and I will want to make sure I click the podcast category or whatever category you have specifically for your podcast. Be sure that you're clicking that each time. Otherwise, it won't show up in your podcast feed and won't get fed to iTunes and elsewhere. You can, of course, give it tags if you like. That's kind of your choice. And then hit update. And we'll view our post. And we have the same type of deal here. Podcast starts playing. Player's already there. Everything's good to go.
Something Beautiful podcast. Stories worth talking about.
So that's it. If you have any questions, be sure to drop me an email. You can find me at jdblundell.com. You can actually click the support tab, and I'll be glad to answer any questions there if need be.